Hey guys, welcome back to another Battlefield 6 deep dive, I guess that's what you could call it. And today we're gonna have a look at the 6 new attachments that were added with Season 3, how they work, if they do what they're supposed to do, and whether they are worth unlocking and equipping or not. But we start with a short overview and how to unlock those attachments. So what we got this season is the burst training, the aftermarket buffer, the Speedholster and the Gunslinger. These 4 can be unlocked through the Season 3 hardware path that you can find in the Seasons tab of the challenges. But there are 2 more attachments that were added, the Magnifier and the Speedloader, and those can be found in the Season 2 hardware path. All of them are fairly easy to unlock simply by doing kills or dealing damage with a certain type of weapon, and you can complete all of those challenges in casual breakthrough if you want to. Because especially the sidearm kills that you need for the Speedholster and the Gunslinger attachment can be much easier to complete against bots instead of in a normal lobby. But now let's have a look at what these attachments actually do and if they're useful. And we start with the burst training that is available for the Court, GRT, SG553, PW5, UMG, KV9, SL9 and CZ3. You can always find this attachment in the ergonomics slot, and what it is supposed to do is that it changes the default fire mode of the weapon to either a 2-round or 3-round burst fire. And it is also supposed to reduce the horizontal recoil, make the vertical recoil more stable and slightly reduce the recoil overall. And when looking at the weapon stats, this means that the precision increases, the control slightly decreases, and the recoil variation gets lowered. However, I noticed that except for the GRT and SL9, all of those weapons already have a burst fire mode, so I was wondering what's the benefit of the attachment for them. And besides what's obvious, so that you automatically start into a match with the burst fire mode selected instead of the automatic fire, besides that, nothing really seems to change. You also keep the automatic fire mode, so even with the attachment you can always switch to automatic fire at any time. And when it comes to the supposed benefits of lower recoil and variation, I couldn't really find any difference between using the weapon with or without the attachment. The recoil patterns that you can see right here always look pretty much identical. Maybe there is a slight difference and a slight reduction in recoil and variation, but then again, probably not, because I would guess that a decrease in recoil variation by 8 degrees would be much more noticeable. So I'm not quite sure if for these weapons that already have burst fire, this attachment is bugged or if it shouldn't even be there. Because for the 2 weapons without burst fire, the SL9 and GRT, things look completely different. Here the stats differ in comparison to the other weapons. So for the GRT, the precision and control are increased and it has lower recoil amount and variation, which are actually the stats I would have expected to see based on the attachment's description. And for the SL9, the precision is heavily increased, the control is lowered by 1 point, the recoil variation is reduced, and the rate of fire is increased from 675 to 771. And here the attachment actually has the effect it's supposed to have and is also visible. First of all, the default fire mode, which is automatic fire on both weapons, gets replaced by the burst fire mode and not only automatically switched. And when comparing the recoil patterns, you can actually see a difference. It's a noticeable reduction in recoil amount and variation compared to the weapons that already have a burst fire mode. Plus, for the GRT and SL9, the attachment only costs 10 points, while for the other weapons it's 15 points. So for 15 points, with changes that are either barely noticeable or not even existing, the attachment is not worth it on the Court, SG553, PW5, UMG, KV9 and CZ3, because you can switch those weapons to burst fire anyways, even without the attachment, so why waste your points on this attachment? But for 10 points, with a noticeable reduction in recoil on the GRT and SL9, and also the increase in rate of fire on the SL9, I would say the attachment could be worth it, especially when you mostly tap fire your weapons. Moving on, there is the Aftermarket Buffer, and this one is available for almost all automatic weapons with an ergonomics slot and costs 5 points. And even though the symbol looks a little bit different on each weapon or on the different weapon categories, its effect or supposed effect is always the same. According to its description, it reduces the visual impacts of recoil while firing, and that's also pretty much exactly what it does. And for an attachment that is fairly cheap, it does a pretty good job as well. Because when compared side by side, I think it's clearly visible that the visual impact of the recoil is reduced. However, the recoil itself is still the same, of course, but it doesn't shake up your weapon as much visually. So if you don't have any other more important ergonomics attachments on your weapon that you prefer to use and you still have 5 points to spare in your loadout, I think that this one is definitely worth it. Next up, we have two attachments that are only available for sidearms, and that's the Speedholster and the Gunslinger. The Speedholster is available on all sidearms except for the ES57 and the VZ61, and the Gunslinger is only available on the M44. Both attachments can be found in the ergonomics slot as well, and the Speedholster comes at the cost of 5 points, while the Gunslinger is at 10 points. And I guess the names already give away what these attachments do. Both of them increase the draw speed of the secondary weapon, which is reflected in the stats as an increase in mobility and a faster sprint recovery time. And the Speedholster is basically the first stage of this, and then on the M44 you can make this draw speed even faster with the Gunslinger. Definitely useful when you prefer to switch to your sidearm instead of dying while reloading your primary weapon, or when you play with a sniper or marksman rifles where you might need your sidearm more often on shorter ranges. And then we have the two attachments that are hidden in the Season 2 path, and here we start with the Magnifier. The Magnifier can be found in the optic accessory slot, costs 10 points, and is available on almost all weapons except for the DRS, SV98 and L115. However, it is not available in combination with all optics. So every optic that has more than 2x magnification doesn't allow for the Magnifier to be equipped, and there are also some of the small optics like the Miniflex or the CQ-RDS, for example, where you can also not use it, probably because they are too small. So in case you don't see the Magnifier on your weapon of choice, it might have the wrong optic equipped. But when it is available, it allows you to double the magnification of your optic on the go. So if you use a 1.5x optic, you can turn this into a 3x, and if you use a 2x, you can turn this into a 4x, which can be really useful for some long-range AR builds or for LMGs and DMRs. To switch to the Magnifier, you simply press V on PC or L3 on consoles, all while aiming down sights. If it makes more sense to equip a variable zoom optic instead of the optic plus magnifier combination, that depends on the points it costs and on your personal preference. But when you prefer a certain reticle and only want some more magnification on it, then it definitely makes sense. And lastly, there is the Speedloader, and this is only available on the two shotguns M87A1 and M1014. You can find it as a magazine attachment, and as the name suggests, it allows you to reload your weapon much faster compared to the other magazine attachments. And it also improves the aim down sights time, ADS movement speed, and the sprint recovery. So you have all the benefits of the short tube that is also available on those two weapons, but with the additional faster reload. However, because of this additional benefit, it is of course more expensive, and especially for the M87, it is a lot more expensive than the short tube. It also reduces the ammo count by 2 shells, just like the short tube does. But what the Speedloader also adds to this is that you cannot interrupt interrupt the reload anymore and simply fire the shells you have already reloaded, because when you interrupt the reload, you will end up having exactly 0 shells in your shotgun. And it only makes sense when your weapon is completely empty, because only then the fast reload will be performed. Otherwise, you will just have the normal single shell reload that you have with any other tube as well. However, the much faster reload time could still make this attachment worth it if you can live with the downsides, especially on the M1014, because here it only costs 10 points instead of the 20 points that it is on the M87. And that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. And if you did and you want to stay tuned for more content like this, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.